I know it's been a busy week with all the new Pope stuff, and that kind of dominated a lot of the coverage, but I think we should talk about this tonight. All the winning President Trump and company got done this week, and way beyond that. Okay, if you voted for President Trump, you should be heading into the weekend feeling pretty good. Well, clearly, the Trump administration is as well. I want to start with this. This moment in the Oval Office yesterday seemed like they were having fun while talking about the new trade deal struck with the UK.
And the Democrats are fighting it only because they want to fight. They have Trump derangement syndrome. You know, if it was somebody else, they wouldn't fight. If you had a normal person, if you had some stiff sitting behind you, they'd be fine. But they have Trump derangement syndrome. You know, Senator Schumer's become a Palestinian. He's welcome. I don't know when they're going to give him the ceremony, whatever the ceremony may be. But it's terrible what's happened to the Democrats.
One thing I've always said is Trump is hilarious. He's a funny guy, genuinely. Even the guy from the UK was laughing in that video, and he's right. The president is right. It is terrible what has happened to the Democrats. Imagine this, everybody. There's a new era being ushered in here in the United States, one that prioritizes us, the American people. President Trump is systematically going from country to country, reworking trade deals to benefit the American people, and you're completely against it. Imagine that. Doesn't make much sense to me, as I'm sure it doesn't make much sense to you either at home watching. But like the president said, they have severe cases of Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. That's going to be an arching theme tonight. They're so eager to try and make him look bad, they wind up with egg on their face time and time again. Here is the former White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, hours before President Trump announced the UK deal. And then we got some others from MSNBC.
It's been more than a month, if you can believe it, since Donald Trump announced his sweeping and pretty ridiculous tariffs. But Mr. Art of the Deal, as he calls himself, has not yet struck a single trade deal, not a single one, with any single country.
This is relatively low-hanging fruit. If you can't get a trade deal with the longest-standing and loyalist United States ally anywhere in the world over.
Donald Trump is backed into a corner. His grand plans of tariffs aren't working, right? You're seeing day in and day out more business leaders, whether it's Warren Buffett or Jamie Dimon or Ken Griffin, on big global stages saying this is going to crush us economically.
So here's what the deal that he got done does. The UK deal opens up the market, the access for our companies to the tune of $5 billion. It anticipates $6 billion in annual tariff revenue for the United States as Trump imposes a set 10% tariff on the UK. And now we can sell products in their market like ethanol, beef, ag products into the UK as the UK lowers its average tariff down to just below 2%. How about them apples, everybody? And remember this, the stock market, remember, it was crashing.
We are witnessing a market meltdown triggered by President Trump's historic trade war. Take a look. All three U.S. stock indexes hemorrhaging at the closing bell just moments ago. They went from we're going to lower prices on day one to you're going to need to take some short-term pain, and now none of us know how long that pain is going to last.
I will contain my anger, but only because I lived through 87, and in the end, I came out okay. I was in cash for the crash. I know what this feels like.
See the screen? The S&P 500 is down just 3% on the year. That is nothing. I hope all of you bought a little stock while it was down for literally a couple of days. So, yeah, the stock market crash didn't happen. And anyone remember the inflation under Democrats? Pretty bad, right? Like I said, tonight, we are going to be doing some celebrating. So here is this. The U.S. inflation rate now sits at 2.39% compared to 2.82%. A month ago, and last year at this time, 3.48% winning. Thank you, President Trump. You said you'd get the inflation rate down, and you have. But here's what they're saying again on left-wing media.
You're going to sit here and you're going to try to be the party of the people when you're decimating small businesses, you're raising prices on everyday Americans.
Really? Raising prices on everyday Americans? Well, then let's get to this. CNBC just put out a giant chart titled, "Where's the deflation in the U.S.?" And would you look at that? All kinds of grocery prices are going down. Gasoline down more than 10%. All kind of products you enjoy, like your dishes, your flatware, TVs, cars and truck rentals, major appliances. The list is enormous. all having deflation. Again, when you have severe cases of TDS, you'll say some pretty crazy stuff, including things that are not true. Folks, it's only getting better. And even the mainstream media like the Wall Street Journal is having to come to terms with that. They've been out talking to American manufacturers and finding out that, guess what, these plans are working. And some companies are even saying this: we are running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we are swamped. That is according to Juergen's president, Jack Schron. And polling, contrary to what the polling from the left would tell you, coming back pretty good, everybody. 70% of farmers expect the president's tariffs to strengthen the U.S. agricultural economy in the long run. I love to see it, don't you? And I just mean that. Left or right, if any president in the world was doing this, I would be thrilled. And it's President Trump, he's doing it. This is also the running tracker on the White House website. All the companies who have announced investments into the United States. We are talking about some of the biggest companies in the world. $5 trillion in announcements, and it keeps going up. Now, you mean to tell me someone from the Democrats was going to accomplish something like this? I doubt it. Kamala Harris' plan was more government. It's important to remember what she was proposing back before the election. She was calling for this: the construction of 3 million new housing units in the next 4 years. It had been backed by the government. And then they were also getting back a $25,000 down payment in support for first-time home buyers. Government-backed homes, government-backed down payments. It was more like this, everybody. This is how it truly would have went. You know it to be true. Take taxpayer money, try and build 3 million new homes, screw it up, take even more of our money, try and fix it, screw it up even more, and then probably abandon the projects. And then all of a sudden, all of our money, nobody can account for it. It's mysteriously gone. Let's be honest. You know that's exactly how that all would have went down. Meanwhile, we have to sit back and watch scenes like this. Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, AOC, other Democrats flying around in private jets on taxpayer dime. But for some reason, a very common sense agenda, one that puts the best interest of you, Americans first, is being made out to be some kind of freak show experiment by the left. When actually the real freak show is the left. Did you see Democrats and left-wing elite at the Met Gala over the weekend? Look at how they dress, everybody. Kamala Harris, she was there. She showed up to that. She wanted to be a part of it. We also had a guy running around with a piano on his back. Somebody actually showed up in a shipping container. That's how they arrived at the Met Gala. And when I say freak show, I don't mean just what they wear. I mean it all. The whole thing was a freak show. The senile man who was leading the party, Joe Biden, he's back on a speaking tour. He paid a visit to The View, and I think it went as expected. He could barely talk.
We found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work, and we got it done. And one of the things that
Alyssa, one of the things.
You talk too much, Joe. Joe, you're on a talk show. You are there to talk. That is the whole point of it. Your wife, Joe Biden, she had to step in and save him in that moment. He was losing his train of thought mid-sentence. Look, Joe Biden was senile. He still is, and Democrats covered it up, period. That is what happened. I know we're going to keep rehashing it time and time again. That is what happened, though. And I want to remind everyone of this, he was actually left with, President Biden. That was a 1.4% inflation rate. That was an economy that was humming. Housing was very affordable. You had a secure border, and you had no wars going on around the world. I'd say he entered into a pretty good setup left by President Trump. That is why after 4 years with Biden in office, it was so bad, and he got kicked off the ticket. And then he was replaced by Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And those two, they couldn't campaign on the issues because their policy was awful, and it still is. Democrats' policy is still awful because if they had good policy, they would be on board with the Trump administration. It is America first. How can you be against that? How can you possibly be against reworking trade deals? I mean, think about this, everybody. President Trump, he talks about it all the time.
The United States lost 90,000 factories and plants. Think of that, 90,000. How do you do 90? If you had a map, a big map the size of that wall, and you had a pin for each factory, you wouldn't have enough room. You think of it, 90,000 factories since NAFTA.
It's pretty crazy, right? Look it up. That fact is true. Clearly, there is an awful issue with that. President Trump is fixing it. Again, how could you be against it? Or deporting criminal illegal aliens, stopping wars, or getting men out of women's sports? I don't know. Everybody, I don't know. It's beyond me. But like I said, when you have severe cases of TDS, you'll find yourself doing and saying some pretty crazy things.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.